The first thing I'll start with is investing has always been important to me. So a lot of what I do starts from that place and trickles down. Meaning like I'm always going to be maxing out a 401k. I'm always going to be thinking about like how much I want to put in my investments before I think about other things that I want to like do, buy, whatever. This is just how I am and how I operate. It's always been really important to me because what I believe is that investing is like the true form of passive income. Like when I got into the online space and everybody was like, is like courses are passive income. I'm like, that never has computed for me because I don't think they're passive at all, number one. And number two, like they're still built on like a lot of your own work. Even if at some point you make a passive sale, i.e., like you made a sale without having to be part of that sale, like that has just never landed for me. And so investments have always been what I am most looking for. And it has always been like the thought around my business is like, I want to make money in my business to have investments in other things. Um, where I think a lot of people think about that differently than me, as they see their business as like the form of wealth building. And like I do, like I have built wealth because of my business, but also like I see my business, the money I make in my business as a way to then invest and build wealth. And so I'm not always the most concerned with like how can I make the absolute most amount of money at a lit up life, like you know what I'm saying in terms of like barring my enjoyment and what makes me feel lit up and all that. Because I don't see a lit up life as like the only vehicle for wealth building, right? I see a lit up life as a channel to create money that then helps me invest in wealth build. So when I think about like what I do with my money, the most important thing I do with my money is I invest it, like hands down. That is like I've been really open about this too. We'll get into details too if there's like specifics you guys want to know. Obviously tell me, but I have like a lot of details I'm going to share too. I'm just wanting to talk about a high level to start. But the thing I've always said about a Let Up Life is I was a millionaire in terms of net worth before I ever made $1 million in a single year. And like that's why is because investing has always been a big part of the strategy. And so I just cannot say this enough. Like if you're a woman, learn that, know about that. It is not as complicated as it seems at all. You can do it in such a low risk, low effort way. That is the type of investor I am, by the way. Like that I am a low risk, low effort kind of girl. Like if I had to describe our investment strategy, like that would probably be it, low risk, low effort. Um, that's not right for everybody again, but I'm just saying that to say, like, if you're hearing me say this and you're like, I don't know shit about that, and that feels really intimidating to me, I promise there is an easy version of this. That does not look like you have to know all of this crazy stuff and be connected in all of these crazy ways to get these investment deals and da like that's not how I play it. Again, just me, doesn't have to be you. Um, so I maxed out my 401k, my solo 401k. I have had that since I started my business. Very, very useful. That is always like a pretty much a non-negotiable for me and my business is to be maxing out on that every year. Um, and then when I like take home money, it's also a non-negotiable for me to be investing into just like a normal brokerage account every month. So those are like my top two things in terms of what I do with the money. And those are the things that have like really done the most for me in terms of wealth building, assets, that kind of thing. The other thing that has done a lot for me in terms of that has been real estate. Um, and honestly, just kind of through sheer luck, I would say more than anything. I mean, maybe that's not totally true, but like I am never in investing in real estate and whatever, like a time the market girl. I don't feel like I understand it enough to play that game, to be perfectly honest. Nor does that like interest me in becoming someone that's like playing that game. Like I play the game of business and I like that game. That's enough of a game for me. Um, but I had a home that I bought my ex-husband out of, right? So then like we bought it together. I bought him out of it during the divorce. And then after that, I renovated it pretty much top to bottom. Um, I say it like I did it, but like, you know what I mean? I facilitated that. My dad, he was also alive then and did a significant amount of it. Um, and then I sold that house and I had massive profit off of that. Then when I moved in with Kenny, we lived in his house for a while. We sold that and we had really strong profit off of this. And then we just sold our last house and made a ton of money on that. So it's been houses that I've lived in. It's not like I have a ton of real estate investments. I did have an Airbnb for a while, but you guys know that story was a disaster. Luckily, we didn't lose money on it, but it was not like a gain. Um, so again, I'm saying all this to say it's so much simpler than we often think. Like, I've just made a lot of money by like making the houses I live in better, which is like what we're doing here now too. We're in a renovation. We're gonna make this place amazing. Whether we stay long term or we don't, we'll see. But I know I can like get the value out of that. And I think that that's important to think about because it's almost like everything you're doing with your money is meaningful. If it's going into a home, if it's going into investments, if whatever, like I think what we so often do as business owners is every bit of our money, we think about like putting it back into the business. And for me, I'm like, I want to be putting it into investments and then I'll decide about the other business investments I want to make from there because I want to know that I have that passive income secured in that way. I also think that's why I don't get that jacked up about one-on-one in the way a lot of other people do when people get so crazy about one-on-one and they're like, I hate trading time for money. I'm like, that's not what I'm doing. Like I'm working for an income flow that then grows and grows for me, right? And so if you are a one-on-one girl and you always get really like, about that, I get it because the online space will push that again and again and again. But like you can also have passive income. You can use one-on-one to generate a lot of income that you can then use for investments. Um, and like again, I'm not saying don't invest in the business, but I'm just saying don't like you don't want to be in a position where every single egg is in that, right? Like you want to be able to be like, cool, I have the business and whatever. We're putting value into our house that we then plan to sell, or we're putting money in the stock market that we know is going to generate X return, or even very simply, we have a ton of money in a high yield savings account that is growing for us in X way. Like just knowing that your money can make you money is so huge. And honestly, that's why like when you have money, it's easier to make money because that money continues to grow and grow. And so having that be a priority early in your business is such a huge win. I mean, like truly, because it can do so much for you over time, especially when you start early. It's really not about like how much, it's really about how early, you know? Um, so anybody have questions yet? If not, totally okay. I can also talk about like some of the other ways I think about things in terms of spending and in terms of investing in the business. But if there's like a certain angle y'all are curious about, let me know. I feel like I could talk about this all day, every day. So feel free to point me in a direction if you're curious about anything. But the next thing I was going to talk about is um, oh, let's see what Megan said. She said, this is part of the reason I can take the pressure off my business to scale because my money is scaling in other ways. Perfectly said, Megan. That is like exactly what I was trying to say. But Megan just said it in a much more beautiful and succinct way than I did. Thank you, Megan. Which is that like it really can take the pressure off. It's not like, okay, how do I make an extra 2000 a month in this business? Like, not that you're never in that spot, but like when you're investing in that way, you really don't have to think about it quite like that. It's like, a different game you're playing. And it really does take the pressure off the business just being like, how do I get right? It's like, how do I make what I need to invest and how do I make investment the priority? Again, I think that so similar to data, so many women shy away from this because it's like, I'm not a numbers person, or I don't know that much about it. And I honestly just think that it's such a way that patriarchy fucks women because we're almost like bred and conditioned to think that we're not good at that. And like, just so we're clear, that is not my data numbers, whatever. None of that has been my natural skill set ever. Um, I ever. But what I do have that I think has helped me so much is I trust myself to figure shit out. And I also trust myself to find shortcuts and make it easy, right? So when I go back to like low risk, low effort strategy, like I'm not trying to play this massive investment game. I'm trying to be like, I trust myself to figure out a way to make this work for me. And that's what it is. So, like, do not let that intimidate you. Like, it is just a way that women stay small in like the current structure of our society is thinking like we don't know stuff like numbers or like it's too difficult or it's so complicated and it's so confusing. It's really, really not. There are parts of it that can be, right? Like, I just don't play that game like you can or you can't, but like you can do it in like a not intense way. That really, really makes a difference. The other piece for me is I think I go like pretty hard against a lot of the am I here still? It's like frozen on my end. I'm curious if y'all still have me. Hmm. Okay, let me know. I'm just gonna keep talking. I tend to go pretty hard against a lot of the traditional um like money mindset, I will say, stuff I see in this space. I think that so much of the advice around that is kind of like Lacey said, yeah, okay, good. I think so much of the advice around that is really risky for women. I think this idea of like spend it like you have it or treat it like you have it really fucks some of us up. Like I remember a client saying to me like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like because I'm making X, I have to spend at this kind of almost like luxury level on everything, or I'm like showing the universe I don't have enough, or I'm in scarcity, or." And I think that is so bad for us. Like the reason I have been able to grow such a net worth and like have so much freedom around money is because I've actually been like financially responsible and sound about it. I think that that advice that sort of is like do it and then the money will catch up is like good in very specific pockets and instances. But if you feel like you have to live your whole life in financial reality like that, it's really, really bad because for most women, what we need from like a baseline standpoint, I think from a manifestation standpoint, I think for a success and business standpoint, all of the things is like we need safety, right? And so sometimes you do need to stretch with spending your money because you're actually showing yourself it's safe to spend. Like I had a have had a season like that in life where like I had to just be like, Lacey, go buy yourself the thing. It's safe to spend, right? But I also think that it becomes this thing where someone like spends and spends and spends and overinvest in their business to like prove they're not in scarcity. And it just drives them further and further into scarcity because they don't have that baseline safety, right? The times where I push myself of like, go buy yourself that thing, like go prove that to yourself. It's like I logically knew it was safe, but I physically didn't feel it in my body yet. And that was like really important to do. But if I'm like, I logically know this is like totally unsafe to do and I still feel like I have to do it to like prove something to the universe. To me, that's like the exact wrong way to do it, right? It's like what we really need to be talking about so much more is like, how do we create enough safety so that we feel like we can go do the thing or get what we want or whatever? Like, that's it. It's like what Megan was talking about earlier. Um, I can't see the comment anymore, but basically, she was saying it's like why she feels um, less pressure in her business now. But I think another way to say that is like, it's why we feel safe in our business. Like, I feel really safe in my business because of a lot of what I've done with money, which allows me to have higher risk tolerance, right? Which allows me to go do the thing, which allows me to not feel in scarcity, which creates abundance, et cetera, right? Like, there's so many dominoes that come from safety. And some of that is risk tolerance. So you could go make a crazier investment. So, like, now, um, like I was saying earlier, we do mostly like low risk, low effort stuff. And I would say like, I don't know, 85% of our investments live there. 15% of our investments live in stuff like crypto and things that are more risky because we've built up the safety over here to take bigger risks. And we've had really big payoffs from that too. But like that's when it gets tempting to be like, oh, okay, so just dump all of it into crypto. But like, no, because we want the safety so that we can keep taking risks. Like the same is true in business. And so for me, I've always been like pretty conservative with my money. Um, it doesn't mean I don't like do things I want or buy things I want, but like I'm pretty intentional about how I do most of that stuff. Like, you guys know I'm a big jewelry girl, love. Um, but even that, like I'm shopping for a piece of jewelry right now, and when I tell you, I am like, how many grams of gold are in that? What is gold's market value? What am I paying per ounce? What does that equate to? Does this piece make sense versus this piece because this has more value per gram? Like I get into it, right? And I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I'm just saying for me, it's not like I can't spend the money, but it's like I really want to make sure like what I'm spending on makes sense and like it feels like a true investment and it feels good to me and I actually have context. And like I feel like that could sound bad where it sounds like almost like everything has to be like the best purchase or the best thing in terms of like whatever value. And sometimes it's not, right? Like sometimes you're gonna want something that like doesn't even make sense and that's okay. It totally is okay. But what I'm trying to say is like, I am a pretty like, but I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say responsible because I don't think that's quite right. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I really take into account a lot of this stuff when I spend my money. I'm not like, oh, I have money, so I spend whatever I want. I'm like, I got this money and I've, built this wealth by being intentional about where I spend my money and when. And so I like keep trying to do that for the most part. Like, I want nice things. I like nice things. I'm intentional about when I do it. Like, here's an example. I love this hotel in Orlando. It's the Ritz Orlando. If you have little kids, it's so amazing. Like, it's such a great hotel. Um, and like, we just went this last weekend. Like, we got home yesterday. And we went at this time because like you get such great deals at this time and it's not as busy. So we always get upgraded. It's like so amazing. But we're going to go again in December. But in December, it's bananas. And so we're going to use points for that. But this time I paid cash because it made sense for the value exchange. Like this is just the kind of stuff that I want to give as an example because I feel like it almost can feel like, oh, well, when you have a certain amount of money, you just say yes to everything and you never make trade-offs and you never have to think about it. And I think that sometimes that freedom of never having to think about it sounds sexy. But for me, it's so empowering to think about those things. When do I want to use points versus when do I not? When's a really good time to be um, like I know that I really like nice shit. Like I have this uncanny ability. Like if you set up five things in front of me, the one I like most, I guarantee will be most expensive in any format. Like no matter what it is. Like that is what I will zoom in on. I love nice shit. Like don't get me wrong, but a way that I'm able to give myself that is being really intentional about all of this stuff, right? Like I love this nice ass hotel. So like here's when we're gonna go and here's when we're gonna maximize points and whatever. That has just always been how I've done it. And I don't really see it as a negative. Like because I think it comes back to that safety thing. I think when people are like, I just want to be able to say yes to whatever, whenever, anytime, what they're really saying is I want to feel safety, right? I want to feel safe with money. I want to feel like I have a cushion. And so for me, safety doesn't look like, sure, yes to anything, anywhere, anytime. It looks like I have choice on anything and I'm making the choices that feel best to me and that most align to the goals I want. Like, I don't give a shit if I go to the Ritz on August 2nd or September 3rd. I'm like, well, August 2nd is a really good deal. Let's go then. Right? If I cared, if I was like, oh my gosh, all my friends and family are going on August 2nd, I wouldn't be like, well, I'm not going because that's not the best deal. Right. But it's about being intentional about like, well, I can go anytime. So I'm choosing now because that fits me better. And I know, again, I know that sounds silly, but I feel like very traditional manifestation and money mindset stuff in our space just does not talk about that. It's almost like just say yes, don't be in scarcity. And it's like to me, I'm like, well, it's not scarcity. It's just like there just is no matter how much money you have, right? Unless you're like, you know, whatever, uh, multi-billionaire, there just is trade-offs and decisions. And so I'm just always trying to be conscious of those because, for example, when we were at the Ritz, um, I was on the Real Real because you guys know that is my obsession, and a ring that I've been wanting for a really long time. popped up on there. And I was like, oh, this is meant to be. And so I said yes to that. Right. And the reason I can say yes to that, like in that way, is because I'm like intentional about a lot of other things. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to give that permission because I feel like, again, what most of us are seeking is that safety, is that choice, is that like, oh, I could, but do I want to? Right. Like I know for me, when I wasn't um making a lot of money, like I what I thought I would use my money on versus what I'm using it on are different in a lot of ways. Because what I was seeking is like I just want to feel like I can say yes to absolutely anything. And now that I more can, I'm really like I want to be intentional around it. I want to know it's aligned to my values. For example, I think I talked about this in a post on Instagram, like I have always loved thrifting, secondhand, um, pre-owned, whatever kind of shopping. It's why I love the Real Real so much. That has been true whether I had a lot of money or didn't have a lot of money. To me, that's just like more aligned to my values. Like I like not being such like a consumer of like new wasteful things. Like I like reusing things. Like it's just values aligned. It's like something that has always been important to me. My grandmother was very much like this, so I think I just kind of took that in. And there was a time in our space where I was like so like, oh God, if anybody knew that like I did that, I'm sure everybody would judge me. And now I'm like, I don't care because it's just aligned to my values. And I also don't care if somebody doesn't like that. Like, I'm not saying that's better. I'm just saying like that's for me, that's like spending with intention. And I like that. Um, and for someone else, that might not be where they might not find that fun or exciting. I find it very fun. Um, but I don't have to alter that to like prove to the universe that I'm not in scarcity. Do you know what I mean? I just have to go, how does that feel in my body? Oh, that feels really fucking fun. I just got this very expensive ring for much less on the real world. That feels extremely exciting to me. Like, it is okay to still have that. And again, your version of that might be totally different, but I just say that to say, like, don't get so caught up in like what it should be to prove something. Get caught up in like, what does this feel like in my body? Does this feel good or bad to me? Like, we are the ultimate like knowers. We have the ultimate wisdom. Like, if it feels bad to you, it's probably bad. If it feels good to you, it might be good. If like if you have values here, don't try to let the online space push against them so hard. Go, what does it look like to live in alignment with my values and still get the thing I want, you know? Hey, Maureen. Denise said, I love the idea of being intentional. That keeps me from sabotage. Yes, totally. Right? Like, I think it can be so easy to get into these really rigid things in any area of business, like rigid about like how we're supposed to spend our money or what like business model we're supposed to have or whatever. And for me, it just always comes back to like what feels good to me, what feels fun to me, what feels aligned to me. Like that's it. Like it feels really good to me to like insert thing, save money, spend money, say yes to this, say no to that, whatever. Like we get to decide. And I think that that's just like so important to say. Um, so I don't know if this is helpful. Mm. Mm. Well, if you guys want to know more about like I'm just like looking at my notes about investment strategy. I'm happy to talk about that again, not a financial planner, but happy to talk about how I do it. Um, but the other thing I wanted to talk about is like I really try in terms of how I spend my money to just be very engaged with my money, I guess is how I would say that. And so this is what helps me be intentional. I think where I have not always been as good at that is when I have not been engaged with my money, right? And so I think that again, sometimes we so badly want to feel that safety or freedom, and so we just ignore it. And we're like, oh, I'm just gonna like not look at it, so then I don't have to worry about it, or then I don't feel burdened by it. But what I have found over and over again is that, well, I just went to pull my sweater down and all my buttons popped open. That's so funny. What I have found is that when I am like engaged with my money is when I feel most intentional around it, when I feel most tuned into like, oh, does this feel like a good spend right now or not? Um, and that makes all the difference because I think there's this Brendan Burchard quote about data that I really liked. And he basically said like, uninformed intuition is just a guess, I think is how he said it. I might be butchering that. But like the gist is he was saying is like take your data because that's what's going to inform your intuition, right? It's not like data has to um like take away your intuition. And that's always what I've believed so strongly. It's what we used to talk about at Dateable all the time. Like data isn't about don't listen to your gut. Data is about having an informed process. And I think the same with money, right? So it's like I want informed intuition. Like I want to know where my money sits and then I want to be able to make an informed, does that feel good to me or does that not? And when I don't know that, it's mostly just a guess, right? Because I don't have enough information to actually go off of. And so I try to look at my money at least once a week, if not more. I try to be very engaged in what's going on in our household. Income like Kenny pays the bills, but I try to like know everything I can about that. I try to be really on top of that. I do a money date with myself weekly. I love the Monarch app. If you guys don't know what that is, highly recommend it. It is so amazing. It basically like tracks your personal net worth. It's so good. And just look at this shit. And so when I'm looking at it, it's so much easier to be like, oh, does it feel good for me to go buy this thing right now or not? And it's like kind of that simple. It's just deciding that I can trust myself to know what value exchange feels good to me and what doesn't. And it's like trusting myself to know that if it doesn't, it's because it's still a choice. It's not because I'm in scarcity. It's because I'm like, this just doesn't feel good to me. Right. Um, when you were talking about low risk investing, are you talking about mutual funds, stocks, CDs? Just curious. Yes, I will talk about that in 2 seconds. And I said, yes, my anxious brain feels worse if I just ignore it or don't worry about it. But when I'm budgeting or really noticing every transaction, I feel much better because it feels like some form of control or safety, even if that could read like scarcity. Right. Totally. Oh, I need a new app to track things. Yes, it's so good. I think that's it. It's like we can approach that with scarcity. Um, we can approach that like, oh my God, see, I can't buy anything. I can't, da, 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 da. Or we can approach that with safety. Like, um, this is such a silly example, but I'll just like use it as this. As you guys know, I've been talking about this a lot because like very top of mind. It's my hobby right now. My grandmother gave me her jewelry collection, and so I've been like, figuring out different things with that and stuff. And so recently I've been like, okay, I'm going to remake or sell a piece before I get a new piece because I have like a lot going on now. And again, like that's not scarcity. It's not like, oh, I can't get a new piece unless I remake or sell a piece. And now I'm like boxed in and it's just like, oh, that's what feels good to me right now. I don't actually want to be this massive consumer that has so much stuff I couldn't possibly touch it or wear it or even know what it is, right? But it's like the same action, but from a totally different place. And I think that's what we have to pay attention to. It's not like, oh, I'll feel better if I don't look at it or I don't pay attention. It's more like, how can I pay attention in a way that feels good? How can I pay attention in a way that feels supportive to me, that feels like it creates more of the feelings I want and not less of them? And I think that that's where we can get lazy as individuals is that we just take what someone else is saying and decide that that's gospel. We're like, oh, well, so and so says the way to do it is you just have to like buy whatever you want and like live as that version of you. And it's like, what feels good to you? Because that might send you, right? And there's not one right way. And where we get lazy is not just figuring out what our right way is, right? What our way of tracking that feels good is, what our way of being engaged with our money is that feels good. And it might not have anything to do with how I do it, right? Like you might not do a weekly money date, you might not have a tracking app, like it doesn't matter. But like the baseline is it's worth figuring out for yourself what actually feels good to you there. Because I guarantee you the avoidance isn't going to do it for you and the anxiety is not going to do it for you. You have to find a way to be like, what feels good here? This is my work. And when you make that your work, it's so much easier. Yes, informed intuition. Love that statement. I think it's so helpful. So to answer Lacey's question, um, in terms of like low risk investing, we do a lot of like ETFs that track the S&P 500. We do, God, what are they called? I think they call them um Denise says, I keep my power and choice instead of living in fear. My way gets to be authentic to myself. Yes, totally. I think they call them dividend aristocrat single stocks, I'm pretty sure, but it's basically like large public companies trade on the S&P that have like increased their cash payouts for at least 25 years in a row. So we don't do a lot of single stocks, but we do some of those. Kenny's done a lot of like the employee stock purchasing plan with his company. We have crypto. We actually have physical gold. Not just this, but like get this because like the gold value has really increased a lot. and we've done real estate, right? But we've done mostly the real estate of like the homes we've lived in. So for me, all of that's like pretty low risk, and pretty low effort, right? I can look up what those um, dividend stocks are. I can pick ETFs that track the S&P 500. I can, like buy physical gold, etc. Like that's just like the easy shit we've done. We've really not done almost anything beyond that. We do crypto, like I said. Um, so that's what I mean. Like, a lot of people are doing like they're getting into angel investing and doing deals. And I'm not against that. I have a client that's big in angel investing, and I think it's really cool. It just takes more um, research and energy than I currently want to give it right now. That may change, but that's kind of where I'm at. And it's, done its job well for me. I also really like what I see in business is, like things just have always compounded for me when I've stuck with something. And I know that there's like a lot of really good research on investment that it's the same. Like I think it was a Wells Fargo study that was basically like their most successful investors were dead because they weren't fucking with it. You know what I mean? They were just like letting it sit there. Um, and so I kind of think about it the same, where it's like, I just believe that if I keep going or if I, keep it there, it will keep growing and compounding over time. Um, that's what I've seen in my business. That's what I've seen in my investments. Could that be happening because I believe it's going to happen? Sure, I don't know, but this is what's been happening for me. Um, and it's, made a very, very big difference. Um, let's see. Lacey said, I've done mutual fund stocks mostly in my 401k for years. I find it fascinating and really doubling down on companies where I align with their values. Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think that that's like when you've done the like, mutual stocks and stuff for years, then you have a little more risk tolerance to be like, okay, I'm mostly investing this from like a values-based perspective and not just a return perspective, although that too, right? And like that's kind of the fun of this is like the more you do the basic shit, the more risk tolerance you have, the more ability you have to figure out other things, the more you're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm gonna invest outside of these like really traditional means in a 401k, or I am going to try crypto or whatever, right? But like, I think that like it's so similar to business where it's like if you start with the basics, you have so much more tolerance for some of these other things and you can make other choices. Like if you start with the basics in business, you can really be more values aligned. Same with investing, right? To use a financial advisor, manage your own portfolio. I manage my own. Um, I don't think it's bad to have a financial advisor. A lot of my clients do. I would say, in fact, the majority do. Um, but I do my own. Um, Kenny's also quite engaged with it too, so it's like fun for us. I know it sounds really cheesy. We're just so fun, you guys. But we like doing it together and talking about it and stuff. So, um, I don't think that's right for everybody. I think it can be really empowering to have someone else do it. Um, and I also think that's where a lot of women can learn. Like if you have a great financial advisor, that can be such a good place to learn as well. So I think that that's like a really, really good option in many cases too. And I think it can take away like some of the stress that's like business, right? Like having a great coach can like really alleviate some of that stress and give us some of that safety we're after. And so I think a great financial person can do that for you. A lot of my clients love theory partners. Um, I've met Caitlin in person. She's great. If you guys are looking for someone, I would definitely theory planning partners. Um, let me just make sure I'm saying it right. I'm gonna put it in the comments. There we go. Yeah, Tracy said I love doing it myself. I find it so empowering. Yeah, totally. Like I think it really depends. Um, the other thing that I've really done in terms of how I spent my money is I've always tried to tie things I want to goals in business and like make that fun. I think that something and I know a lot of women can almost be too good at, um, is, just like moving on kind of thing and or delayed gratification. I'm actually not that good at delayed gratification, to be honest. I'm like a pretty impatient human, but I do see a lot of my clients can be very good at that. And honestly, sometimes that's what makes a great entrepreneur. But sometimes it also what makes the game less fun. So I've kind of like always, even when I like was just starting out, found ways to spend money from my business on myself, so that I developed this almost like positive association with making money in my business. I've kind of like Pavlov's dogged myself to like truly, where it's like, because I think if not, sometimes what can happen is making more money in your business can actually feel scary. Like it can feel like more responsibility. It can feel like more pressure. It can feel like all of these things. And so we kind of have to create this like fun and whimsy around it too. And so like two of these, I think aside from the middle one, which Kenny got me on our wedding day, are for like business milestones. Um, this was with a client. We were celebrating her $1 million year and she bought something and I bought something. Like this was a business milestone. Um, like I, and again, it doesn't have to be jewelry, it's just that happens to be my thing. I've always found ways to equate these positive things in my business with something else. Like, for example, I was just really excited about us having 84 applications and buying myself a piece of jewelry because of it. Like, I really think that that's so big and it doesn't have to be anything like that. Like, it can literally be like you take yourself out for like your favorite dessert or something like that, right? But I do think that feeling like the business gets to personally benefit you in a way that is only for you is one of the most important things. I think that so many women are like doing these businesses because they want a better life for for their families, and that's so admirable. I mean, same. And I think that it becomes such a burden sometimes because it feels like there's never anything in it for you. And I think it can really hurt motivation. And I think it can actually make the making more feel quite overwhelming if you don't have relationship with your money. And if it feels like no matter how much you make, you don't actually benefit in like a way that you can kind of tangibly see or feel sometimes. And so I've really always done this. Like, no matter how much I was making, I was like, what what is for me in this? And I think that it has helped tremendously for me to associate growth in business in a really positive way. And again, these don't have to be big things. Like it's just like, how are we creating these positive associations? Like we have to realize our brains are very complicated, but also very simple in some ways, right? And when we can create positive associations to making more, to hitting that goal, to that being like fun and exciting and for us and, giving us what we want and all of this stuff, like it's so easy to go make more of it. When every time we make more, it's like, well, it's not enough and I can't have that yet. And I'd have to make more and I have to, da, da, da. Like your brain is going to start associating that with a negative thing. And so pretty much no matter what, I've always found big and small ways to do that. At the beginning of my business, it was like a glass of champagne I loved. I don't drink anymore, so it's not that anymore, Now I like jewelry, so it's diamonds. But like truly, it's it's so meaningful to have something for you in all of this and to feel like that matters. And the more you build that positive association in, the easier and easier it gets to go make more of it. And that is not selfish. That is literally like intentional on purpose. Like so much of this conversation is about intentionality. I am doing that so intentionally. It's not like an excuse for me to get jewelry. It's because I want to look at these and be like, I'm a bad bitch and I hit my goals. I'm a bad bitch and I hit my goals. Like I'm literally programming my brain for this all the time, all day. Right. So think about what that is for you because I really do think that makes such a difference. Like it can be anything. Like one of my clients like just redid her office and made it like the most beautiful, gorgeous place off of like hitting this goal. And it's like she gets to be in that environment every day and be like, I did this. I did this. This is for me. Right. Like those things go such a long way. Which also brings me to the intentionality of doing stuff like that too. So it's like, yes, it's to like create those positive associations. And then also it's to really ask yourself what matters to me. Like I think that one thing when I like first started making money. Hey Brittany. Yes, yes, this is definitely about intentionality. One thing when I started making money in this space is like everybody was talking about like first class, fly first class, fly first class, blah, 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 right? That was like such a thing. And now I feel like everybody's like, get a private jet. I don't know. But really. And so for me, I just don't value that as much. I know some people are going to think I'm crazy, but I really don't. I like don't really care how I get there that much, but I really care where I'm staying when I'm there. My husband's the exact opposite. So that's fun. But the point I want to make is you really have to stop and ask yourself in every case as you get more money, do I actually want this? Do I actually value this? Or am I feeling like I'm supposed to value this? Right? Because when you feel like you're supposed to, you end up spending on everything. And then you end up feeling again less safe, more stressed because it feels like you have to maintain this certain, like lifestyle on everything. And you're not feeling that much worth it energy from it because it doesn't do it for you. Like if I'm flying really far, like the worth it energy on like a wave lap or something is huge for me because I value sleep very highly. But if I'm just like flying from here to New York or something like that, the likelihood that I'm going to buy first class, unless it's just like, not that much more, is so low because I don't fucking care that much. I really don't find that much value and enjoyment out of that it's worth it to me. But I care so much about like what is the experience when I'm there. And like just learning these things about myself has been so huge because it makes me feel like I'm the one in control of it. And when we don't feel that way, when we feel like there's just more pressure and we're supposed to be a certain way and we're supposed to be spending in a certain way, that actually is scarcity. That actually is the opposite of the freedom we like want to cultivate. That's the opposite of the choice we're actually looking to create. That's the opposite of safety because it feels like I'm supposed to versus I get to, right? I'm like, I'm not supposed to fly first class. Like it literally doesn't matter to me. I get to pick what matters to me. And the fact that I've let myself do that is so valuable. Another example of this is um, one of the best things I did for myself from a money mindset perspective is I actually leased a horse. I always thought when I grew up and had money, the one thing I was going to do is buy myself a horse. Okay, this was my like little girl dream. And so I leased a horse. And if you guys know anything about horses, like they're like it's all your money. I'm kidding, but not like they're very expensive. Um, and so I leased a horse and I really enjoyed a lot of it. And there was a lot of it where I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing for this time in my life. Will I maybe have a horse in the future? I don't know, maybe. Um, but the point I want to make there is I'm so fucking glad I did that for the time period I did because it actually helped me have choice around all of this to be like, if I want to spend like that, I do have the money where I can spend like that right now. But if I'm going to spend like that, I really, really, really want to feel this energy of like, that's worth it. Right. So it's like go on the first class flight and then decide if you want it. Like I got, I leased the horse and then I was able to be like, you know what? Not right now. And like that is, I think, what it comes down to is like being willing to question these things instead of like, well, this is what I've always wanted, and so I have to do that, you know, or like this is what everybody else is doing, and so I have to do that. And so that's like just a really big piece that I've learned with the money thing is that you really have to stay away from this idea of like there is a right version of this, or like if I don't get myself the course I always wanted, that means X. It just means it's like, I wanted something when I was 10 and it doesn't feel the same as I thought it would then now. Like that's all it means, right? Or like someone else loves first class and I don't. That doesn't mean I'm in scarcity. That doesn't mean anything other than like that is not my personal preference, right? And so that matters so much in the like how we spend our money is like, do you actually know your personal preferences? I know that sounds silly and obvious, and I think it's so related to kind of what we were talking about last week of like, do you know what you want? Like, I think so many of us get so tossed around in what we're supposed to want, what we should want, blah, 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 right? Like, you just have to figure out what it is for you, and you have to make that right. And you have to be willing to ask enough questions and have enough experiences to make that right. Like, I'm not mad that I did the horse thing and spent that money. I'm so fucking glad I did because it's what gave me that clarity, right? So, let yourself have that in whatever big and small way you want because it's how you're going to keep trusting yourself with money. When you keep spending money on shit that you don't actually want because you think you're supposed to have it, and then you're like, why don't I enjoy this? Da, da, da. Everyone spirals so much more. And then they're like, see, I'm in scarcity. I'm like literally in first class and I'm not even enjoying it. There must be something wrong with me. I have a receiving issue. Da, da. Or you just don't like it, right? Like, you get like, You can get so fucking crazy in all of this stuff. And it just keeps coming back to like what feels good to you, what makes you feel better. Notice it in your body. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like that's it, right? Um, yeah, Lacey said same. I'll splurge for overnight overseas flights, but could care less about domestic flights. Same. Tracy said, love this combo. I value vacations and travel versus designer or jewelry, etc. Yeah, totally. Like none of it's better or worse. We just all get to pick. Nova said the classiest thing to me is wild nature. I gotta stay grounded in this. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love how you said classy. Um, yes, like if we can stay grounded in all that, it's so easy to feel aligned with our money. It's so easy to feel in abundance with our money. And like to me, I feel like abundance really comes from like spending in the ways that truly feel good and truly add to your life. And scarcity comes from spending in ways that you feel like you should, or you're supposed to, or you have to, or you don't have choice around. And you can see how those actions could look really the same. Like you can be scarce sitting in first class because you're like, I can't believe I spent this money. I know. Or you can be like, oh my God, abundance, da, da, da. it, it's not about the what, it's about the how it makes you feel. And that's where we get so fucked on all of this is because we think it's about the what. Someone else feels amazing in first class. So they put out all this content about how like you have to fly first class and it changes your vibration and blah, blah, blah. But it's not about that. It's about like their orientation to it, right? Like that is the ultimate thing. And so if you spend your money based on your orientation to like what makes you feel lit up, like you're pretty much good to go, you know? Manali said I feel like I overdid it on travel for a bit, only to realize if I could spend the extra money on my home and love that a ton. Yeah, that's such a good thing, right? Where it's like, I'm sure you don't regret the money on travel because it helped you figure that out. But it's like, and that's where I think I feel so steady in this now is I've done a lot of the different experimentations. I've traveled a lot, I've traveled less, I've spend more on this part of it or that part of it, or I bought the bag and then did I want the bag? And like, now I'm like, I really feel like I know what I want. And I'm sure that will change and evolve in different seasons of my life. But like knowing what I want makes it really easy to feel in abundance most of the time, regardless of like, you know, level of money. Where I feel like most people don't feel in abundance is because they think they should be able to have it all at once without intentionality, and that is what will make them feel the most abundant. And like, I just don't see that as true for most people. We are just humans with personalities and preferences. And when we start aligning to those preferences and optimizing for that and being intentional around that, is when the money stuff feels so good. Like it really is. No matter what number. I mean, obviously more money is better. I'm not like trying to pretend that that's not, it just is. But I'm saying like you can feel that level of abundance here or here, and you cannot feel it here or here. It's really not about that. It's about like, do you know what you want? Are you making that right? Are you leaning into it? And are you spending in alignment with that? Like that's pretty much it. Um, And so for me, that's like what I've really tried to do over the years. And of course, I've had like, times where that felt more so true and times where it felt less. Right now, I feel like I'm in a season where it feels very true. And having moved and in being in renovation in this house and all of those things. And it's just been like so obvious to me, like, wow, I'm really spending in a way that's like truly aligned to like what matters to me, what I value, what I want. And it's like making me feel in abundance, even though technically this house is not as nice as our other house. Like I feel in so much abundance because this is more in alignment with what I want, you know? It will be as nice. It's just gonna take a minute, but you know what I mean? Like really. Hi Michelle, it's good to see you. What is this background? Where are we? We are in a guest room because the bathroom next to my office is being renovated and it's incredibly fucking loud. So here we are. Here we are. We're getting the bathroom handled. Hopefully, hopefully next Monday you'll see me back in the office, but like, God only knows. So we'll see. Um, but yes, I hope this helps. Happy to answer any questions that come up for y'all. But this is kind of it for me. Like, I think if we spend in the way that like really makes sense for us in terms of safety and intention, it's really easy to feel good with money. Um, Michelle said helping people spend their money in a way that's in alignment with what they want is exactly what I do. Yay. Yay, bathroom. Yes. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful week and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.